Well, Nick O'Mara is a musician known to many an Australian music fan through his various musical outfits, including Raised by Eagles and Amarillo. And he has just released a wonderful debut solo album. It feels weird saying that because, you've done so many other things, Nick. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too, Sophie. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I've been listening to Overland, which is that album, and I find that it really weaves a spell. So whether it's on in the background or I'm listening to it closely, there's just this sensation of not being caught in a web as it was, because
Right.
initially I was thinking, am I getting trapped in here? I was like, no, there is a spell being woven. And what I was wondering is when you were recording it, did it feel like you were under the spell of your own songs?
It really did actually, because it did in a sense. I mean, I became so obsessed with making it and the recording of it, and the songs that I chose for it. I don't know. They were. I mean, they were very kind of precious and to me, and yeah, there were some songs that were felt a little bit like that. That sometimes when you write a song and you're trying to record it and finish the lyrics, you do feel like you're being kind of taken somewhere you're not sure where it is, and you're just trying to find the end, I suppose. You're trying to, and also try to bring it into the world without breaking it. But yeah, it definitely sucked me in for, I mean, I did it half at home and half in the studio, and I got quite obsessed with it. Hmm.
And when you say trying to do it without breaking it, I suppose there can be some brutality in that recording process in a way. It's like
Yeah.
it's, especially if there's a producer involved, as there was for you, even though that producer was a relative. I would imagine having other people involved means there is a danger that something that is precious to you will break. And
Yeah,
do
that
you feel fiercely protective of it then?
Yeah, I mean that is always the way that I feel about songs, because the way that it happens for me anyway, you kind of they appear as you kind of get given a chorus, or you get given a guitar part in the first verse, and then that just kind of happens. You have this thing in your hand that you're kind of fascinated with, and you want to coax out, but the rest of it is kind of, that's work, because you have to extrapolate on that initial little idea that you have. So that kind of idea of not breaking it, so that's how I feel all the time about my music. I always feel like I've got to follow this path and I'm not quite sure where it is. And sometimes it's very easy, and other times it gets a bit dark and you're stuck in the woods. But yeah, Shane helped with. I did the tracking with Shane O'Mara of the tracks with drums. Harry O'Mara played drums on it. We recorded it live at Yikesville, but he didn't actually produce it. I just produced it on my own, although he was a fantastic help and he helped mix it and he was full advice and stuff. But yeah, he didn't really produce it. I kind of produced it, not to diminish his role because he was a fantastic help. But yeah, it was self-produced really.
And that's me misreading the notes because I did
Yeah.
just see Shane O'Mara at studio. I just made presumptions that he
Yeah,
was the
no,
producer.
it sounds like a very kind of. It sounds like I'm being a bit precious, but no, I didn't really produce it. It was my for better or worse. I kind of it was my thing that I yeah molded myself and drove myself insane doing. That was good, a good kind of insanity.
I don't think it's being precious to claim your own work.
No,
Just quietly, I think
yeah,
you're allowed to do that.
yeah.
It's just
Thank
handy to
you.
have a cousin who can mix for you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah,
So you said you get given a chorus or given whatever it
mm,
is. So that idea, I guess, of ideas coming from the ether and
yeah,
then you having responsibility for them. Do you feel as an artist that you are channeling in a way and that
yeah.
it's therefore your responsibility to ensure safe passage for that fragment, whatever's come to you?
I do, and I've often expressed it exactly that way, and it's something that people often say, but it is true. It is what you feel like you particularly the first kind of melodic idea and the first yeah, the first kind of melodic idea. It just pops in your head, and you wouldn't turn it into a song if it wasn't. Well, I wouldn't if it wasn't if it didn't feel inspiring to you, and it didn't feel like there was some little spark there. So that's always what happens with me, precisely as you described. I just get this. It feels like it's something that's popped up or just that's been given to you, and then you have to, you know, work out what it means and finish it off.
And do you undergo an editing process, or do you impose an editing process at the time ideas come in? So, or do you just take whatever's there and think, okay, I'm just going to note these things down and then I'll go back to them and see if anything comes of them?
Yeah, I try to yeah, that's a really important thing that an idea that I tried to impose on myself was to edit later
Mm-hmm.
rather than at the time. So particularly with melody and I try to use that Paul McCartney idea where he would just sing nonsense lyrics to
Right.
get the rhythm and the melody of the song, that kind of, what was it, scrambled eggs, whatever, for yesterday. Because you don't want because they are kind of two different things, the lyrics for me anyway, the lyrics and the melody. You don't want you don't want to be banging your head up against words when you're just trying to get a melody flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the melody will suggest, or some little phrase will suggest what the song is about. Um, and there's other songs on the album that are direct, quite linear little stories. There's some
Mm-hmm.
narrative songs on there that are, and then other songs are kind of dreamlike, I suppose. The opening track is still kind of perplexes me what I was talking about, but it definitely kind of was something because, yeah, there's a dreamlike quality to it. And then Shaking, which is a little story about some people that I used to know, was definitely little bits I wanted to put in there. But there is a kind of follow your nose kind of thing, I suppose, with writing songs, or the way I do it. I might be doing it wrong.
I don't think you are. So many of these songs have this real sense of I don't want to say place, and it's not really place or mood actually, but
Mm-hmm.
there's almost like a feeling at the back of the neck when they're on,
Oh,
of
thank you.
familiarity yet strangeness, and I think it is all bundled up in place and mood maybe. So I'm wondering
Yeah,
if when you start to write some songs, it's mood that propels you.
definitely.
It's not lyric or music.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, that's the broad kind of driver of it all. I think from that initial thing is the mood of it, and then, I mean, I have lyrics that I write outside of music that sometimes I'll place in, but yeah, it's definitely the mood of it, and I definitely try. I work hard on my lyrics and stuff, but and and sometimes often have a really particular thing that I want to say, but the form. I mean, some of my favorite songs that move me, of other people that move me profoundly, if you were to read the lyrics off a sheet, they don't mean anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the part of the form of pop music in the broad sense, as in pop, as in everything from Metallica to you know, George Jones to Britney Spears to whatever, is that the lyrics don't have to have a literal sense. They can just be a suggested little mood, and that can move you just as profoundly as songs that do have a very specific message or whatever. If that makes sense. I'll be rambling now.
No, no, not at all. I was reading that you said that when it comes to your songs, you're always trying to get to the heart of it,
Yeah.
was the phrase. And it made me wonder actually if you do that musically as well as lyrically. So, like, even though like you can construct the lyrics and tell a story that way, if you almost will use the lyrics as like a guidebook for the music so that you're trying to get to the heart of what's in the song musically as well.
Yeah, I think it might be the other way around. I think the music will be like you're saying, the place and mood. I think the music is kind of the where you are, and the lyrics are what's going on. But yeah, I'm always trying to. Yeah, I mean, I suppose just trying to play honestly in that, without kind of artifice, and trying to, yeah, that idea of trying to get to the heart of whatever the idea was in the beginning, and not to, I'm not sure how to describe what I meant by that, but it's always trying to get to the heart of what that little spark was.
Mm-hmm.
When you first wrote it, what did it actually mean, and don't veer from it, I think.
Do you find sometimes that maybe you don't get to the heart of it in the recording, which is okay, but then you could be performing that song live several times and suddenly you arrive at a live performance and think, that's what it was?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Um, maybe songs are funny. Once I write songs, and play them live. There's songs, the stuff that's in my mind when I play. It's funny when I play my songs live, I will see and feel the same things every time I play them live. It's really strange, particularly the ones that are really narrative. Um, sometimes they're like little movies in my head. I will see the same people from my past in my head when I'm singing them, and I'll see same little scenes when I'm singing them. Even songs that I've sung a million times. It's really, yeah, it's peculiar. It's really nice. It's a nice place to be. It's like you're watching this little movie. Yeah, the same images are in my head, particularly songs with a strong narrative in them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always, it's a peculiar thing because whenever sometimes I'm conscious of it when I'm seeing him live. I'm like, oh, all those little pictures in my head are back again. It's interesting.
Now, you mentioned the song Shaking earlier, and that does have quite a story in it and quite a lot of story in it. There are a few details in there, but it also made me think about the discipline required in structuring the song when there is a lot of story to tell.
Yeah.
So have you always been quite ruthless with yourself in that discipline of structuring the song, or is it something you've become better at over time?
I definitely, I feel like I've gotten better at it. I've gotten better at um, yeah, I think the discipline thing is to not allow, just to try to avoid, because you're trying to get from A to B, trying to avoid laziness and try to go, that's not quite good enough. Yeah, if you writing a song like that, I think because it had because of the narrative nature of it, you can't kind of fake it, I suppose, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
just pictures and images. It's like a little story. So that was a challenge to write, and that actually wasn't going to be on the album, that song, because it's so long, and recording of that was the hardest, actually, the hardest song to record, because I just, yeah, I think the length of it, and there was a certain guitar thing that I was trying to do, and I was going to dump it, but it was the song that more than one friend said, "Is that song about the criminals going to be on the album?" And I go, "No," and they go, "You got to put it on. You got to have that song about those criminals that you knew." So yeah, I'm really glad it did. Actually, I listened it to the other day, and it's the song on the album that I've avoided listening to because I had a really kind of precious idea of it, and I'm happy with the way it turned out now, which is a relief. Yeah.
I actually didn't notice that it was long. So there
Oh,
you go.
really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's really good.
At no point did I think, wow, this song's going on. No, as far as I was concerned, it was just like a snappy 3 to 4 minute song.
That's
So,
fantastic. It's 6 minutes. It's like this epic. That's so good that it didn't sound long to you. I'm glad you didn't skip off and go, I wish this guy would shut up.
no, it's a really intriguing song, actually. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, what is that little detail now?
Right.
And I should ask also, when did you start writing songs? At what age? What was your impetus? And did it go along with learning to play guitar?
Not songs as such, but as soon as I started playing guitar, I started writing music. That's what I did as soon as I started playing guitar. That was my kind of real interest when I was about 13, kind of fingerpicky stuff. And I had this really good mate who lived just around the corner, and he was about my age. And we used to record on cassette tapes. He had a lot of nylon string, and I had like a steel string. And yeah, I wish I still had those tapes. That'd be amazing to hear. But that's what I did as soon as I started playing. And then the kind of primary thing that I was interested in my 20s was instrumental music, and I had an instrumental, I suppose you call it, post-rock band called the Butcher Birds. And then probably in my late 20s I started writing songs and realizing how much harder it is to write a compelling little song in 3 minutes than it is to write. Composing music is, for me, much easier than writing a song to have it, because the form is stricter and you have to fit it into this thing, and it has to, because there's words, there's another element of discipline that you have to have there. But yeah, probably in my late 20s I started writing actual songs.
And I should apologize for that phone call interrupting because I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. Clearly, it doesn't always work.
Oh, that's okay.
It's like,
Don't worry
what
about that.
is that?
Don't worry about
These
that.
operating systems don't always work. Now, speaking of guitar, you play lap steel and resonator for other artists, as well as obviously playing on your own recordings. Is it more pressure playing your own songs or other people's? If in a live environment, I should say.
No, it's more pressure playing my own, I think. I've never played lap steel live on one of my own songs.
Oh.
Never. I've actually, because I've played in Mick Thomas band. I used to play in Raised by Eagles, and Amarillo would play a little bit of lap steel. But yeah, no, I've never. I mean, it's hard to do both, to sing and sit there with this weird little thing moving your hands around. I've never done that. It's something I really want to incorporate into my band because people dig it, but I'm not sure how to do it. But yeah, I'm trying to work that out.
And you mentioned Raised by Eagles and Amarillo, and those are bands, or Amarillo's a duo, and so you don't get to make unilateral decisions in those environments, but you do with your own album.
Yes.
Has the power gone to your head, Nick? Are you never going back?
Yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons. But yeah, I mean, being in collaborations with music can be really great and can be really fun, but compromising on the songs that I put on this album, there was just no way that I couldn't have, that they wouldn't have fit with the other bands that I was playing with, and also I couldn't imagine compromising on them. I had a really clear vision of what they are, and that is it feels good to be able to say exactly what you want to say and have that picture in your head be realized. But yeah, I mean, there are cons to it as well, because you're very in your own head. And as I said, I got very kind of fixated and obsessive about it because I had a really clear picture of what it was going to be. When you're in bands, it just kind of rolls along and everyone puts in, and then you kind of like, this is it, we're doing it. But yeah, I do enjoy having certain songs. I do enjoy having kind of full control over how they're gonna come out. Yeah.
I think it's hard to avoid being fixated and obsessive, though, when it is your own project, because it is a creation out of your own head. There aren't other collaborators telling you what to do, but also it's something you're passionate about and focused on. So I think if you were blasé about it, it wouldn't be anywhere near the result,
I think you're completely right. Yeah. I mean, it was good that I was obsessed with it in the end result, but it drove my partner a little bit crazy. I'd just be like hours and hours and hours of this stuff at home, but she was really supportive about it. So she sang on the album too, Jackie Tonks. But yeah, I mean, if I was just like, oh, whatever, then what would be the point in doing it, I suppose?
Yeah, well, that's it, and it is to the benefit of the listener when you take that much care with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen references to John Martin and Nick Drake in relation to your work, and I know their music, but do you think there's something more concrete about your songs? I mean that as a compliment. Mm-hmm. And these are songs that can help a person get to work every morning, if you know what I mean. These are whereas I find Nick Drake songs, for example, a little bit more dreamy and maybe something that you're lolling around listening to on a couch. Yeah. Whereas I was listening to yours thinking, this is music that I can get up to and get to work to, and at the end of the day I can listen to and feel anchored, I guess, in the world. So I'm wondering if you actually think about your audience when you're creating songs.
Thanks for that. I don't really. I don't think I do. I've never. No, I don't really think about how they would sit or how they. I mean, of course I do to a degree. It's hard to know what's in my brain, but it's definitely. I just have exactly what I know the songs, what I want them to be, and that's it. And I kind of don't deviate from that. Sonically, I'm really clear about what I want it to be, and I think the Nick Drake, John Martin thing. I mean, I suppose Nick Drake is very kind of. There's a mellifluous. I've just learnt that word, mellifluous, so I'm going to use it. not in a bad way, although I think that is a bad word. But there's a floaty kind of ethereal kind of thing to his. They're just kind of images and pictures, like a kind of, it's in kind of impressionist kind of lyrics, I suppose. But I think what I did is quite different from that. But it's also hard to know what your influences are. You can say I'm influenced by X, and people will go, "Oh yeah, I'm hearing this and this and this," and sometimes you don't know what your influences are. But I mean, Tonksy, my partner, put Pink Moon on the other day, which I adore. I really adore it. And yeah, it was funny to hear it, like certain little phrases and stuff. It's like, wow, I haven't thought of this album for years, but it's kind of in my bones, that kind of playing. But sonically, I think that's what that reference is for. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there'll be artists out there who will use your album as a reference point at some point in the near to distant future. Who knows? That's, longevity is a wonderful thing. Yeah. Nick, thank you so much for talking to me about Overland. It is a fantastic piece of work. Congratulations.
Thanks so much, Sophie. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.
Bye.